Hi, my name is Caitlin and I'm doing my project on Universal Basic Income for my English 122 class. So what is Universal Basic Income? Universal Basic Income, or UBI, is money given by the government to all citizens regardless of circumstance. This may seem like a great benefit to those with low income or those who are currently struggling during the pandemic we are currently in with COVID-19. But there are many flaws to UBI as a continuous or monthly payment. Universal basic income encourages unemployment, it reduces other important resources, and it's not regulated. So this type of cash assistance should only be provided in times of crisis. With 41% of LCC students losing their jobs, as you can see here, they lost their jobs temporarily, and 24.1% of those they depend on being laid off or also losing their jobs, as you can see here. Many people are without any steady income right now because 26.1% of students rely on their parents to pay for things for them, such as college, and 43.2% rely heavily on their full or part-time job to pay for school. Being without steady income could make it hard to continue with classes. Because UBI provides quick financial help to all people and families, this $1,000 cash assistance that we've received right now especially helps those who are still trying to pay for college or rely on others who are, as well as those who are unable to access other benefits or work. Although this cash assistance can be helpful in a crisis like the pandemic we are currently in, if they were to continue these monthly cash payments of $1,000 after Americans were able to get back to work, many may rely solely on these cash payments instead of finding work. Vijay Menon, a research assistant for domestic policy studies, stated that the most apparent flaw with the concept of UBI is that it fails to require work or work preparation for its recipients. The current welfare system does little to encourage self-support, so a comprehensive universal basic income policy removes the idea of personal responsibility entirely, meaning that people could fully live on this $1,000 cash assistance monthly and not face any consequences. Scott Santens, a founding member of the Economic Security Project, has a different take on this. With this monthly cash assistance of $1,000, one that has no requirements and is not dependent on employment, it will allow people that are in jobs where they are unhappy and not progressing in to leave their place of employment and open up jobs for those looking for work. So Nation A in this picture right here is one without current UBI. There are 80 jobs and 100 people working, or 100 people and 80 jobs. Of the 80 working, 40 dislike working. They would like to leave their jobs, but if they were to leave it, then they would lose they would not receive unemployment because they left their jobs. In Nation B, this is a nation with basic income. People who do not like their current jobs are able to leave their jobs still receiving UBI, and then those who want jobs are able to enter into those jobs. The problem with this is that we don't actually know if this would be the case with basic income in play. Those without jobs may choose to stop looking for work, to depend solely on this $1,000. They may not enter into those jobs that were left. We just aren't sure. There's a lot of unknown. Although free money sounds appealing, all money has to come from somewhere. One of the concerns with UBI is that it'll take too much away from other programs in order to fund it. But seniors already have basic income through Social Security, so with the transfer to UBI, they wouldn't be earning anything less. The money being spent on UBI instead of multiple other programs would be beneficial because people would ultimately be receiving much more overall to help with disability, food assistance, and more. UBI would not replace these programs, but especially in times of crisis, it could be implemented much quicker than other economic relief programs. A benefit of these cash payments as well is that it allows citizens to spend it freely on anything with no restrictions. Even though senior Social Security may not be affected heavily, UBI would still affect funding to other important resources such as Medicare and disability insurance, as well as others that are not mentioned. This would shift the focus onto parts of the population that are younger and away from the vulnerable populations in need of extra care. On top of that, in order to pay for this large production of money, because they can't completely drain Social Security, Medicare, and other things, they would need to pass massive tax increases or spending cuts. No matter what, we would end up having to pay for this large distribution of money in the end. So who gets this basic income? All U.S. citizens over the age of 18, regardless of economic status or circumstance. Basic income could be the new starting line set above the poverty line to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the poor, because all would have a set basic income. Those below the poverty line would be brought above it with UBI. The problem with this is that UBI is given as an additional income to all citizens. Even though it would likely bring the poverty line to a different place, the gap between the wealthy and the poor would still likely increase because this is an additional income and it would just be added on to what the wealthy already have. Because universal basic income holds no requirements for work or regulation of where the money is going and decreases funding in other important areas, it should only be applied in times of deep economic crisis like the one we are currently in with COVID-19. With 32% of Americans being unemployed, which is more than the 24.9% that was unemployed during the Great Depression, and many people struggling to get daily items for their families, the regulation of this money should not be the biggest issue right now. UBI can also be developed much quicker than other economic relief programs, and because it will stop once the economy starts to return to a quote-unquote normal, it will likely not encourage unemployment, but will help those pay for basic needs while they look for a job.